Hi everyone, this is Kristen with Ingram Spark. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be doing the webinar called Ingram Spark Guide to Independent Publishing with Brendan Clark and Robin Cutler. I just wanted to quickly go over a few housekeeping rules, kind of guidelines, information before we start and get into the nitty-gritty content. First off, we're going to be live tweeting this event, and we would love it if you would join in the conversation. You can do this by using the widget on the right side of your screen. If you have any questions at any time during the presentation, please use the widget at the bottom of the screen that says Q&A. We have team members here that are just itching to help, so take advantage of that. We'll also, if we don't get to everything, we actually might even go over a couple that have been asked, but at the end of the webinar, we'll have a 10-minute period for Q&A as well. There is also a printable version of the presentation in the bottom left-hand corner that you can print out, take notes on, keep for future reference. The webinar is being recorded, and it'll be available to you after 48 hours. We also post it on our YouTube channel for future viewing and sharing, I should say. And then keep in mind that we do this every month. Next month is December, so we will not have one just based on the holiday activities and things like that. But starting bright and fresh in 2016, we'll have webinars every month on a different topic. And you can get that information in our monthly newsletters. And then also we share it about 2 or 3 weeks prior to the webinar. So you'll get to see like what the topic is and things like that and register. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Robin Cutler. She is Ingram Spark's face.
Guru.
Yeah.
I'm the guru.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. Again, this is Robin Cutler. I hope I've been able to meet some of you personally in the past who's joining us today. I'm really excited about introducing you to Brendan Clark, who is going to be our featured speaker today. Brendan and I have worked together in the past. He and I have been on a couple of panels together, and that's where I really met Brendan. And he's kind of unique in what I would call the self-publishing sort of arena. Brendan has a background in creative writing, and he also manages and is the publishing director at a bookstore called Village Books in Bellingham, Washington. And he actually runs a publishing program directly out of the store that I think is becoming sort of a model among booksellers throughout this country and how they can sort of not only sell books but also help independent publishers and authors actually create books. So, Brendan, tell us a little bit more about yourself and about what you're doing at Village Books.
Well, hi everyone. I'm Brendan Clark. I'm the, as Robin said, the publishing director at Village Books in Bellingham, Washington, and I've been publishing books at Village for about 4 years now. And a lot has changed in the self-publishing world since I got started just a few years ago, and it's never been a better time for authors to get their books out there, independently, and we're really stoked to be a part of that. We've kind of built our publishing program with inspiration from other really fine quality publishing programs at other bookstores, Third Place Books, Tattered Cover, Powell's, all have really excellent publishing programs that we've learned a lot from. And we really strive to be as versatile and accommodating as possible, just since we work with such a wide range of authors with such a wide range of needs. We're really thankful to have a tool like Spark that can be sort of adapted into a number of different functions and a number of different purposes, and has the flexibility to really do a wide range of books and create some really cool products and some really cool experiences for authors and their readers. Village Books has been around since 1980. Yeah, we've got our model. Our motto is building community one book at a time, and we really take that to heart. We kind of think of ourselves, in addition to being a business, of course, as sort of a community center and a place where people in our area kind of come together to sort of build this literary culture, and where people can be put in touch with professionals in their community, other like-minded people, and find the book they need for whatever they've got going on in their life. So yeah, we're pretty happy about what we do, both with our customers and with our self-publishing clients. We've got a big display of self-published books, and we publish about 4 to 5 titles every month or so on average.
Yeah, that's really fantastic, Brendan. I just want to introduce one of our collaborative efforts together between Ingram Spark and Brendan. We actually have recently published a book that Brendan sort of wrote for us on how to use Ingram Spark and how to become a better independent publisher. And this is what you're seeing here. And we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about this book and the information that's contained with it. But it was a real joy to work with Brendan, and kind of a labor of love, really, probably on his part. But he's a real thought leader in terms of independent publishing, and how especially to work with booksellers. So we really love working with you, Brendan, on this book.
Thanks, Robin. Yeah, it was fun. Writing was basically like narrating a day in the life of me when I, get files from an author and upload them to Spark. I just kind of walk through the whole experience, and it really
great,
is light reading, and I say that without any irony. It's
let's get into the details here about what people need to know when they're thinking about creating a book and then getting that book into the marketplace.
Right. So you've got your book, you've got your manuscript, I should say, and really the first step that you want to think about is getting it polished, and that kind of comes on a number of fronts. Obviously any author who's writing a book is going to go through and do their own proofing and such. The value of a second pair of eyes, the value of even a third pair of eyes, maybe one that has professional experience in writing or editing, is just a really transformative and sometimes undervalued stage of a manuscript's growth, from being a mere idea into being a fully published book that folks can purchase and give and read and use to improve their lives. So getting an editor is really what I tell authors to do first and foremost. Assuming they have the budget for an editor, and assuming they're not working under some sort of draconian deadline. Editors are great to work with. They're relatively easy to find, although some folks don't know where to go to find an editor in the first place. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of folks coming to me at the bookstore who just need a name and a phone number or an email address, and likewise I have editors who come to me because they know that people who need their services come to me. So going to a bookstore is a great place to get hooked up with an editor and also a designer. just literary professionals kind of flock to bookstores, libraries, community centers as a way of finding clients. So that's one way that I try and help bring people together towards making a book.
Hey, Brendan, can you explain a little bit the difference between like a basic copy editing and content editing? What's the difference there?
Yeah, so people publish a lot of different varieties of books, and those books have a kind of a variety of needs. So when you're thinking about editing as an author, you want to kind of assess where the needs are with your book in terms of editing. You can have a manuscript just proofread, line edited, and that editor is going to be looking for grammar mistakes, misspellings, just structural errors. And that of course is really needed for a book, and there's a degree of severity. Some errors folks might not pick up on, that a friend or family member can help you weed out the really glaring, obvious stuff. When you're talking about a comma splice in your manuscript or sentence fragments, those are things that will not be noticed by everyone, but will set the grammar nuts ablaze with anger and righteous fury. And so just in the interest of making a truly professional and polished work, proofreading is absolutely necessary. Beyond that, you get to copy editing, which is sort of the next level up. That's where the editor is looking at your manuscripts from a perspective of continuity and organization and structure, and kind of making sure that all your ideas lock together in a way that is cohesive, and that your style is and voice are consistent throughout the book. And obviously, there's blurred lines between these varieties of editing, but you want to be absolutely upfront with your editor what you need from them, to what degree of editing you need from them, because there's there's much more cost involved the higher up you get on the totem pole of editing. Up at the top you have content editing or developmental editing, which involves your editor actually looking at your characters if you're writing a novel, or the ideas that you present in your book if you're writing nonfiction, and asking questions about, would this character actually really do this? Does this idea seem realistic? Are you addressing all of the potential counterpoints to the point that you're trying to make? And that kind of feedback, I had said that proofreading is transformative from a structural standpoint. A content editor is going to transform your book from something that might only make sense to you to something that will make sense and be palatable to a wide range of readers. So yeah, I think it's gloriously helpful for people writing books, especially novels.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that if you only have a certain amount of money to invest in your own work, the bulk of your investment really should be on the front end, on the editing side, and probably the cover design. So do you want to talk a little bit about the importance of graphic design, especially related to the cover?
Graphic design is vital. And it's not all about making your book flashy. It's about giving your book a visual sense of professionalism and legitimacy. A graphic designer is going to know the conventions involved with creating a book that that have a very huge impact on readability, in addition to how easy your book is to spot and how attractive it is to folks browsing in a bookstore, for example. Conventions like chapter transitions and section transitions and how to set up a copyright page in your book and what materials need to go on your back cover. If you're publishing a hardcover with a dust jacket, then your designer is going to be able to give you advice on what to use all of that dust jacket space for. You've got the flaps on the inside and all that. Again, finding
Go ahead. In the Ingram Spark guide, you do a really good job, Brendan, of sort of giving examples of that kind of thing that you're talking about. Right.
And and we've got visual aids in the guide as well, kind of pinpointing some of the finer details of design. And really, I've found that with the designers that I refer authors to, and with the authors that I've worked with directly in designing their books, it's not just a matter of putting the pictures and the captions and everything else in the right place. It's really sort of a collaborative experience of trying to take this product and craft it into something that is more attractive, more palatable, more professional, more streamlined, and the best designers really kind of get into it. They get kind of personally involved in the overall appeal of the book that they're working on. That's what authors really need to look for when they're thinking about design.
So let's get into book formats, like to get your expertise on what you consider, especially from a bookseller point of view, the importance of making your book available, in different formats.
No, that's huge, and our philosophy with books, and this might surprise some folks, given that we're coming from the perspective of an independent bookstore, is that we believe that authors should make their books available to as many readers as possible on as many different platforms as possible. That includes brick and mortar stores, that includes online retailers, and that includes different formats of books. Obviously the trade paperback format is the most popular and kind of the go-to default when you're self-publishing a book. But there are so many different audiences out there and different markets out there. All of my most ambitious authors have kind of jumped at the relatively recent possibility of releasing their self-published book in the same sequence of formats as a traditional publisher would. A traditional publisher will release a hardcover as sort of a deluxe or collector's edition of the book about a year before the paperback, and there's no hard and fast rules there, but that's how most publishers choose to do it. And then releasing the ebook version, the digital version of their book, along with the original release of the book. And Spark is great because it lets you do all of those things. You can upload your book as a hardcover, as a paperback, and Spark will do your ebook file conversion for you. I think it's something like 6 cents a page or something like that for ebook conversion.
Yeah,
very,
that's exactly
very affordable, right. Very affordable, high quality, and then Ingram distributes to basically all of the ebook platforms that matter. Robin, you'd be able to speak to that more directly.
Yeah, so Ingram Spark distributes to, the 4 big ones, which are on the ebook side, to Amazon Kindle, to Apple iBooks, to Barnes & Noble Nook, and to Kobo, which is the independent retailer.
Right.
And then there's about 40 or 50 smaller sort of specialized e-retailers, but the big four are the ones that I mentioned.
Right. Yeah. And from a bookseller standpoint, the other bonus of Ingram Spark is that you're creating a book that's in a situation where bookstores can acquire that into their inventory with the same ease as any traditionally published book, which is really a huge game changer for authors who are trying to get their book on the shelves in multiple bookstores to try and reach as many readers as possible, which again should be an author's #1 priority.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to start getting into more detail here just about how you work with Ingram Spark. Some of you that may have already set up an Ingram Spark account, you would already know this, but if you haven't, it's free to set up an Ingram Spark account. You will be sort of walked through, a part where you accept agreements to get Ingram Spark services. You'll provide us financial information so we can do business with you, and part of that is providing like banking information so we can pay you directly and electronically, direct to your bank for every sale that happens through Ingram, and also providing a credit card so that we can have that information in your account. And then tax-wise, because we're basically a B2B, meaning business to business sort of, the way we do business with our publishers is, you would set yourself up as a business, either as a sole proprietor or as a limited liability company, however you choose to do that, and provide that tax information to us so that we can do business with you. If you're an individual, most individuals set up, and are sole proprietors, they provide their Social Security number as their tax ID number. So that's pretty easy to do. So where I think the difference that sets successful authors up in terms of selling their book has a lot to do with metadata, which is basically just a fancy word for book information. So it really matters how this information is provided, especially into the Ingram Spark system that then, goes out into the Ingram catalog and then further even out to Amazon and, Village Book sites and, all these independent different bookstore sites. So let's really get into the detail, Brendan, about the importance of metadata, what each of these things mean, and why it's important.
Yeah, metadata is really the fingerprint and identity of your book. And, knowledge is power. The more a retailer knows about your book, the more a reader knows about your book, and really the easier it is for them to find your book in the first place, the more success you're going to see in attracting new readers and breaking into new markets. The breadth of metadata that you can provide for your titles when you upload them to Spark is phenomenal. It's the star treatment. Your book has as many details and as many different categories and identifiers as a traditionally published book. And folks who are searching online for books that fall into a particular niche, if your book meets that niche and you've correctly assigned the right genre categories and the right keywords, then readers and book buyers are going to find your book based on that information when before they would have no reason to even be aware of your book's existence. So being able to provide that data is really huge. You know, from as basic as just a synopsis blurb of the book to really specific things that booksellers would need to know, like section categories and recommendations from reviewers, author biographies, author affiliations. I'm just looking here at the slide. You can even provide the table of contents for your book, which is really helpful for nonfiction writers, because then, because obviously the drawback of searching for books online is that you can't flip through them. You can't really see what's inside so much. But if you're looking at a book that's been uploaded to Ingram Spark and the author has uploaded the table of contents information, then you see all of the names of the chapters that are there, and you don't need to flip through the book. You have a really accurate idea of the content right there in front of you. So that's huge.
Yeah, it's searchable. Yeah, it's searchable too. So in terms of the description, I get asked a lot about this. So I'm a fan of making sure your description is accurate, you know, that really does describe the content of the book, but also in including, you know, certain keywords and phrases that someone would use if they were actually searching for a book like yours, making sure that that information is included in the description. I think it's more important that the description include, you know, ways to find it rather than trying to impress people with flowery language about your book.
Right, or trying to give away too many details of the plot of your book. You know, people want to get that from reading the book. Yeah, any blurb where you're saying things that people are looking for when they're searching for books is going to make your book really attractive to book buyers. And in all situations like this, I always say to people, put yourself in the moccasins of your reader. You know, be audience-minded. Don't think about what you're trying to convey so much as you should think about what they're looking for and what their needs are, what they are predisposed to want to find. And if you can make your book into that, if you can make your book into the thing that they want to find, then chances are high that they're going to find it.
They'll find it, yeah. And now audience is kind of a new metadata field that we've recently added to Ingram Spark, and it's because especially, and not only for brick and mortar stores, but also for online retailers, you know, they really want to know who your book is really aimed for, the intended reader, especially if it's a juvenile book for a child. Not only you know, that it is a children's book, but what age child and what grade you know, is that child would be intended for. So that's really important too.
And the self-publishing arena has really opened up to authors of kids' books in recent years, just because the cost of color book printing has gone down so much. Printing a self-published book in color used to be extravagantly expensive just a few years ago, and it's become much more affordable now. And Ingram Spark has been really on the forefront of that. The difference in cost between black and white printing and color printing is so negligible that it's really encouraged a lot of kids book authors and kids book publishers to publish independently, and when you are publishing a kids book independently, it's very, very important that your reader knows, or that potential customers know, who your book is appropriate for. You know, speaking as a bookseller, I get asked by parents every day, is this book going to be appropriate for my child of X or Y age? and again, from a bookseller's standpoint, if I'm looking at the metadata for a book that they're inquiring about and has no age or audience information, I just have to kind of shrug and say, well, how big is the text? Or if it's really big text, it's for a young kid. If it's small text, then it's for a young adult. But having that specific information there that we can really rely on allows us and gives us the ability to say, yes, this book is going to be a good fit for your child. And then once you've kind of crossed that bridge, you can kind of talk up the content and all the really important stuff.
So just to reiterate that, Brendan, so you're a fan of including that actually printed on the cover of the book, right, on the back cover, the age range?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not on the.
That's a really good practice. I think that's a really good practice.
If it's not on the cover, then I would probably include it in the copyright page because folks often look there, at least folks who are experienced with buying books.
And and just to also add to what you were saying about the cost. So Ingram, a little over a year ago, introduced sort of a new technology for printing in color. We call it standard color when you're setting up your Ingram Spark book. It actually is inkjet technology. It's a little bit different than laser printing that we've had for years, which we call our premium color. So that technology has allowed us to offer these two different sort of versions, and it is true that standard color print price is just a little bit more expensive than black and white, and it will allow you, to put color in your book and make a color book available, very inexpensively.
Right. Yeah, the difference in cost there is so minimal compared to the value added for just the visual quality of those color illustrations.
So let's move on to additional metadata here, ISBNs, and I hope most people that are listening to us know what an ISBN is. But for those of you who might not, this is the international book identifier number that is attached to all content, so that's sold, throughout the world, basically. So there's a different ISBN number that you would need for, each version of your book. So your paperback version would have one ISBN, your hardcover version would have a different one, your ebook version would have even a different one.
Right.
So anything else you want to add about ISBNs and the importance of ISBNs in terms of selling, marketing your book and selling your book?
Well, I mean, the economy of ISBN is kind of a stumbling point for some authors. Some authors think, I'm just going to publish this paperback. I only need one ISBN for that. I'll just buy one ISBN, which makes sense if you truly are only going to ever publish that one edition of that one book. But folks who, as you said, Robin, want to publish multiple formats of their book, if your book would ever have a sequel, or if you ever plan on publishing anything else, you're going to save a great deal of money by buying your ISBNs in bulk. I recommend that all of my authors, except for the very least ambitious of them, buy their ISBNs in blocks of 10. A block of 10 ISBNs costs pretty close to buying 2 ISBNs individually. So it's kind of a no-brainer at that point once you know that.
Yeah, and just to add to that, so for some people that might be joining us internationally, ISBNs and where you obtain ISBNs are country-specific. So in the U.S., you obtain your ISBNs from a company known as Bowker, which is BOWKER. If you're Canadian, you actually can get a free ISBN from the Canadian government. I wish the U.S. had such a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's how you acquire your ISBNs, and there's information in the book about that as well.
Yeah.
So in terms of other metadata that you will want to provide in Ingram Spark to make your book available globally is the list price for how you price your book. And as the publisher, even as a self-publisher, you'll need to make decisions concerning the price of your book. Do you have any advice there, Brendan, about how someone goes about pricing their book?
Sure. Pricing your book differently for different regions is pretty essential, pretty cool. I work with that a lot since Bellingham is really close to the Canadian border, so a lot of my authors are either trying to reach both an American market and a Canadian market, or they are Canadian themselves and are trying to go between get their books across the border. Really, in terms of deciding on a price, I always tell authors, obviously your first priority is to make sure that you're covering your costs. And Ingram Spark is really handy for helping you make sure that your costs are being covered. It literally won't let you assign a list price that would make you lose money on the book. And the way that it determines that is with the retail discount. And you can stop me if you don't want me to go into too much detail about the retail discount, but when you're thinking about how attractive your book is to retailers, you want to make sure that the retailer is going to make money on selling your book in the same way that they would make money off of selling a traditionally published book. And Spark lets you do that. If you set your retail discounts to the trade standard, the default setting, I believe it's 55%.
That's right.
Yeah. Then a bookstore is going to look at this and from a money standpoint, especially if your book is returnable, which I see that there on the slide too. Yeah, if your book is returnable, that is essential for brick and mortar stores, especially, and that's kind of a given for most traditionally published books. Then they're going to look at that book and say, oh, even though this is self-published, we're still going to make money on this, and we can provide this easily and efficiently to our customers. So then once you've kind of crossed that bridge and say, okay, this is the minimum price I'm working with, just in the interest of covering your costs. What I always encourage authors to do is to go to the section in my bookstore where their book would be shelved and look at the books that their book is going to be rubbing shoulders with. See what those books are selling for. Especially pay attention to the books where there are multiple copies on the shelf, because those are the ones where the booksellers and the book buyers working for the business, they're expecting those books to sell really well. So they kind of stand as a prime example of what your book is going to be compared to when customers are browsing that section. So if
that's
you're
a really good point.
Yeah.
And lastly, I just want to add our last little metadata field here, just to talk about it just a little bit, is setting a publication date and an on-sale date. So the publication date's the date of when you basically want to announce that the book, information go out about your book. The on-sale date is the actual date of when the book can be sold by retailers. So the difference between the two dates allow us to sort of collect orders. And from the publication date, we actually won't print and distribute books until the on-sale date hits. So that's kind of a nice feature that we've recently added in Ingram Spark.
Right,
So, Go ahead.
Already authors are taking really good advantage of that. They having that on sale date allows you to take in pre-orders. And what really marketing-minded authors will do is they'll publicize their book before the release date. Say, I mean, to their readers, you can't get the book now, but if you pre-order my book from this bookstore, for example, then when the book is released for sale, then you're going to get a signed and personalized copy, because for an independent author who's got a good relationship with their local bookstore, it's really easy to direct your customers and your reader base to that business, and then sort of use that as a platform for your own marketing. We just last week had a self-published book released, and that author did a signed pre-order deal, and we saw just an astronomical spike in sales, specifically people ordering that self-published book on our website, saying, oh, personally inscribe it for my cousin Billy, and stuff like that. So it's something that really is fun for your readers and sets your book apart as something that's really worth getting excited about.
Yeah, that's really great. So since you're talking about orders and how orders and reporting and how that works in Ingram Spark, do you want to kind of give us the overview of that?
Well, hey, I don't really have a ton to say about orders and reports other than that they make your life really easy if you're an author who's trying to approach selling your book from a business-minded standpoint. You plug in the quantity, where the books are going to be shipped, and I'll add here that Ingram Spark can package up small batches of books or even single copies of your book and ship them directly to retailers or directly to your customers. And the box that those books come in, the return address isn't Ingram Spark. The return address is you, the publisher of your book. So it literally is like a personal shipping tool where you can send out your books anywhere you want them to go. And it's really cool to use that function, to use that shipping entry to really sort of use Ingram Spark to be the distributor of your book in addition to the author and the publisher. And then
for anybody that's ever packed up an order, it's kind of the bane of existence, really. And not only do we make that easier, but it takes away the burden of having to invest in boxes and shipping envelopes, so that we provide that for you directly to your customers. So I think it's really pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. So, and then
let's talk about
once you
marketing.
kind of gain some momentum on selling your book, the reporting function at Spark really helps you keep track of how much money you're making, money going out, money coming in, the sales figures for your book, based on time. It's all really helpful information, and it's all right there for you.
Yeah, so we are really coming up on our limit here in time, Brendan. So in our few minutes left, let's talk a little bit about the importance of marketing your book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had mentioned the on sale date. Another thing you can do with your book is print a few copies before the book is available to the whole market, and use those as advanced reader copies that you can send to retailers, send to reviewers, and get people reading your book and talking about your book before it even gets released. That's what traditional publishers do. They do that for most of the titles that they publish. As a bookseller, I get advanced reader copies from publishers every day, and they're begging me to read it and review it and just get some buzz going, because that can really set up your book for success if people know about your book before they can even buy it.
Mhm. How about reading events in stores? Is that something that people
Yeah,
should pursue their books?
absolutely, absolutely. It's like you're a self-published book. Uh, in some regard, it can't really even be considered fully published until you've had some sort of an event where you read your book out loud to a room full of people. And it's sort of this really romantic notion of the book signing and giving a reading at your local bookstore. And that fantasy exists for a reason. It's because that's really the birth ceremony of your book. Whether you're just doing an event at one local store or going on a tour, which a lot of independent authors are doing now, because again, it is so easy to manage where your books go. Setting up a positive, respectful relationship with your local bookstore and doing a reading there is a really, really great way to attract readers and kind of build a community of people who are excited about your book, because it's a building, it's an effect that builds on itself, where people who know about your book talk to people about your book, and those people talk to people who know about your book. So really, anything you can do to promote awareness of your book is going to build on itself and create attention and generate sales.
Well, I feel like the best way to approach a bookseller is to be a customer first. Patronize the store, and this also applies to libraries. Like, patronize the store and the library. Make sure, you have a relationship with these, industry experts on bookselling and on publishing. But what do you recommend in terms of, someone who may not, have patronized the store? What's the best way to approach a bookseller in terms of, introducing their book?
Well, really, the name of the game is to be respectful, to maintain a professional demeanor. When you walk into a bookstore, don't cold call and demand to see the buyer or the manager right away. Either visit the store or call in and ask somebody who you should talk to. I'm an author. I'm self-publishing my book. Who here should I talk to, and when would be a convenient time for me to talk to them? You get the contact information for this person, set up an appointment. Because booksellers, believe it or not, are very busy people, and nothing puts a cloud on our day like somebody storming in unannounced and demanding to see us and pull us away from whatever we're doing. So, maintain that respect, and once you have made that connection, remember that they're not doing you a favor by selling your book. You're doing, I'm sorry, no, I said that wrong. You're not doing them a favor by giving them a book to sell. They are doing you a favor by selling your book. So,
absolutely.
In any way you can, try to help them help you.
Yeah, exactly. Up on this slide, I've included the link to a fantastic website that's called IndieBound. Talk a little bit about, because some of our listeners might not know what that is.
IndieBound is really cool. It's sort of a collective hub of independent stores and their online presence. From a customer standpoint, IndieBound has a really great directory and map of bookstores. So if you're new to an area or you just don't really know where to go to find an independent store, IndieBound you just plug in your zip code, and IndieBound finds the closest bookstores to you. And from an author standpoint, once you've done that, you can identify those as, your top priorities for places to take your book, where you can try to get your book into their inventory, shake some hands with some booksellers and allow them to get your book into the hands of their clientele, because that's what booksellers are good at. Also, from an author's standpoint, you can use IndieBound to upload your metadata, and if a bookstore on their website isn't receiving the data from your book from Ingram, then they'll receive the data from your book from IndieBound. And once your book is uploaded to IndieBound, then online customers of local bookstores will be able to find your book and then buy your book online from that bookstore, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it really is. And I've used IndieBound to order, and then any book that's actually in the Ingram Spark goes to IndieBound, and it's easy to find it there, and then order it, and then pick it up at your local bookstore. So it's a really great thing.
Or have it shipped.
So we're about winding up here, Brendan. I wanted to make sure that you knew. Here's the ISBN for the Ingram Spark Guide to Independent Publishing by Brendan Clark. So a lot of this information that he has shared with us on the webinar today, and then some, is included in that book. And so this is where you can go to get a copy. So do you?
Yeah. Maybe someday we'll offer it as an audiobook.
Yeah, absolutely. Video. Yeah.
Listen to the Ingram Spark Guide to Independent Publishing while you're driving around in your car or something.
That would be pretty cool. So here we've got a couple of slides of how you find Brendan and Village Books, and we encourage you to do that.
Yeah, friend us on Facebook.
Yeah, your PR director would love that, right, Brendan?
Yeah, she sure would. Amy loves making new friends.
Yeah. And then if you'd like to follow me and Ingram Spark, here's how you would do that. So, Kristen, anything else you want to add here?
Yeah, we actually have a lot of great questions that have been coming in throughout the webinar. I wanted to point out a couple of them, and then there's a couple that would be really good from Brendan's perspective from a bookseller. The first one is probably more targeted towards Robin. Margaret wanted to know if metadata in Ingram Spark can be updated for a book that's already published.
Yeah, so we make it really easier, and we are always kind of improving the site, adding new metadata fields and ways that you can interact with and change the metadata that's there. So once your book is published, you can provide that information to Ingram Spark through the user interface, and you can always change that information anytime you want.
Great. Second question is from, forgive me, Helena, if I pronounce your name wrong, from Helena from Cyberscribe. She actually gave us a great compliment on our customer service in the UK.
Excellent.
And then she also was wondering, I think the first part is for Robin. Second part, I'd love to get Brandon's perspective. She wants to know what happens to returned books. So I don't know if you want to speak to that on the Spark side, Robin.
So yes, you have a couple of different options concerning returnability. So the first option is what's called return and deliver. So what happens there is, and this is something that you need to consider when you're setting up your book. If you set it up for return and deliver, and Brendan sort of referred to this a little while ago, if the book is returned to us, we're actually going to return that book to you. You paid for it, and you basically own that book. So we're going to send that back to you. We will charge a fee for every book that we send back to you. I think it's $2, and that's in the U.S. in the UK or internationally, it's a pretty hefty fee to send back internationally. I don't really recommend return and deliver for international customers because it's so expensive. Unless the book itself costs a lot to print, I wouldn't recommend it. So there's another option that's called return and destroy. So your book can be set up in a returnable status, but when that return comes back to us, rather than us sending it back to you and you paying that fee to get it returned back to you, we just kind of destroy it. And then the last option for returnability is to actually make it non-returnable.
And speaking of that, so this is the second part for you, Brendan.
Yeah.
If you mark non-returnable, is that detrimental, A, to sales, and then also to get your book in a bookstore?
Having a non-returnable status it's not exactly a deal breaker, especially not if the bookseller has a customer right in front of them asking for your book. If a customer is asking for your book and the bookseller sees that it's non-returnable, they're going to want to make sure that the customer really does in fact want this book, because if not, then that could be a loss for the business. But when buyers at bookstores are thinking about titles to add to their inventory, they definitely do want to see that those books are returnable. Because if, from a bookstore standpoint, books on the shelf is money on the shelf, money sitting there right there on your shelf. And if those books don't sell, and they're not returnable, then the business is kind of stuck with them, and they're unable to make money and often lose money in that situation. So bookstores avoid that by typically not ordering non-returnable books for their regular inventory. So if you're hoping to get your book just sitting there on the shelf waiting for somebody to come in and buy it, which is of course ideal, then you definitely want to make your book returnable. Certainly, as Robin said, international, you get into an area of expense there. I like to be pretty green. I recommend that my authors who are based in the U.S. Have their books be return and deliver, just because you're paying for the book to be printed, and in that situation you're paying for the returned book to be shipped back to you. You might as well at least have the copy of the book that you can maybe then turn around and sell to somebody else.
Right.
But if
I'm sorry, Brandon. We gotta move on. We've got 2 minutes left, so
We've got a lot more questions.
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Angel was wondering if Ingram Spark or Village Books have a recommendation on a book writing software other than Microsoft Word.
I don't.
Oh yes, I'm a huge fan of Adobe InDesign. I swear by the book of InDesign. I love it. I know that InDesign is out of some folks' price range. So beyond Microsoft Word, Calibre is a good software specifically for e-publishing. Calibre will once you've entered the text of your book with some formatting information, it'll essentially cough out an ebook ready version of your book that you can then upload along with the printable version. So Calibre really covers a lot of your bases at once.
That's
but
good.
my number one, my favorite option, of course, is InDesign.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Brendan. Last one, and this will have to be kind of a quick wrap-up, too. Angel had another question. If a book proves to be very well received by the public and retailers, do Ingram Spark users have the opportunity to connect with other Ingram support services beyond Ingram Spark?
Yes. So one of the advantages of working with a distributor like Ingram and is that we are perfectly poised. We work with a lot of publishers, agents, all kinds of people in the industry. Ingram also has a full-service distribution part of its company. We represent a number of publishers directly. We have a sales force that actually sells those publishers' books directly into booksellers, into bookstores. And so we've had a number of sort of success stories of Ingram Spark customers who have grown up and become really successful within our platform and then have moved up into other Ingram services, yes.
All right.
So Robin,
go ahead.
Robin, I have a brief question for you. If a book has been very successful and an agent or someone at a publishing house is looking into that book, would they be able to see the actual sales data for that book by looking through Ingram?
Well, we wouldn't provide that. That's kind of information that the publisher can provide directly to them. We wouldn't provide that on their behalf.
Mm-hmm. But if the publisher were to inquire with the author about their self-published book, then the author would be able to generate a report from Ingram Spark and just send that to the publisher.
Exactly. Yeah, but we don't do that. I mean, we consider that confidential information and wouldn't share that directly ourselves.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, Brendan, it has been a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much for your wealth of knowledge and obviously for partnering and working with us on the Ingram Spark Guide to Independent Publishing. Robin, thank you again for your time. This has been really helpful. I hope it has been for me at least, but I hope for everyone on with us that it's been helpful. And if you have any other questions in the future, I've put Brendan's information up again, and then I've also got Robin's here, and we are now out of time. So thanks again. Everyone have a great afternoon.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, thanks,
Thank you, Brendan.
Yeah.